Sam Hellman of Scout.com here with national recruiting analyst Brian Doan. Today we're talking Rutgers football recruiting, where there isn't a lot left on the table right now for Rutgers, especially in-state. They've got a full class already, but what do you see when you look in-state at this Rutgers recruiting class?
I see Darius Slade in the 2014 class still sitting there, and I see him as a key part of this recruiting class. Darius already tripped to Michigan State. Nebraska's coming. He's taking a visit to Nebraska next month. He's going to West Virginia on an official visit. He's going to Kansas right now on an official visit with your buddy Austin Stevens from Montclair High. But to me, he's a guy that he's outside linebacker, D end. They're our position at Rutgers. They have some other guys on the board like Kevin Bronson out of Florida. Keeping him warm a little bit, but to me they want Slade, and it's important to get Slade through these other visits, bring him into Rutgers for the last visit, whether it be December 7th or if they bring him in January and try to lock him up then. But the good thing about this time of year when you're looking at 2014s is the classes are concentrated.
It sounds like Slade wants to try and get a decision done before National Signing Day, maybe in December. Do you see Rutgers as a school that needs to get him on another visit for them to be a competitor?
Well, yeah, I think they have. He's been on campus a few times, but I also think that he's got to make an official visit to see, all the bells and whistles and everything. And it depends how far Montclair goes in the playoffs. Do they get to Slade? Do they get him on campus for December 7th for the big recruiting weekend against South Florida? Do they try to bring him in on the 14th, which Rutgers usually does not do that last weekend because it's finals week, and there's not a lot of social activity on campus. I think in order for Rutgers to really be considered a contender, he's got to make an official visit.
All right, Brian, let's look at the skill positions for Rutgers, which is what else they're trying to add right now. They recently parted ways with commit David Njoku. Dion Holman was once committed to Rutgers, is no longer. What do you see at cornerback and wide receiver right now if Rutgers is going to try and replace those two?
Well, I'll start at receiver first. I know Njoku decommitted, and that was more, Rutgers said, okay, you went to Penn State, you went to Alabama, you didn't really mention it to us, you don't have a scholarship anymore. Hey, I am not sold that recruitment's over. I think as far as Rutgers is concerned, I think they can go back to Njoku. I don't think he's going to get the tons of interest that he's hoping for. He did the same thing in the spring when he talked about Michigan, Penn State, Miami, Georgia, and nobody extended offers. I think when both sides can kind of look at things, and especially, Njoku's a guy who can play receiver, but Sam, you've seen him. He can also play linebacker. He's got that kind of body where he can develop. So I look at for him, and then receiver-wise, Kendrick Edwards out of Miami. There was some talk that maybe he could commit right when Njoku decommitted. Edwards wanted to kind of slow things down, really take a look at things. He still has some academic hurdles he has to clear. But I think if Rutgers really tighten the screws on him, they could get a commitment from him. Cornerback spots, Dion Holman. Hey, man, one thing I've learned about Dion Holman's recruitment is it may not be over with Rutgers either. I don't expect Rutgers to be involved, Iowa State, Syracuse, whomever. But crazy things happen with Florida kids, as you may well know. And then I look at, Cordell Hudson could get into play down there, and, whether they can get him up, and get an official visit and really push hard on him. I know there's somebody, they like him a lot. They went down and saw him play. To me, that's an important aspect of trying to get one or two more cornerbacks in this class.
Yeah, it sounds like Hudson wants to visit Rutgers on December 14th officially and get a look at the engineering program, which is important to him. But you mentioned Florida kids, and the last kid that I see right now that Rutgers is recruiting very hard is Marcus Applefield. What do you see from him as an offensive lineman and with his recruitment right now?
Well, I think he's a kid that Rutgers, they've liked from early on. They were one of the first ones on him. He's athletic and moves really well. He's visiting Virginia this weekend. He'll make his Vandy and all his other visits. He's announcing the week after Rutgers. Unless Florida State comes in, it's the same old story. You got to like where Rutgers is positionally. Again, the record stuff on a one-year basis, is there a difference between 6-6 and 8-4? A little bit, but you sell him on the fact that he can go up to Rutgers playing the Big Ten. They'll have more experience next year in key areas on defense. I think you can mitigate that stuff over 1 year. I think it serves well. He's going to visit Rutgers the 7th, make his decision a week later, enroll early. So if you get that decision made on the 14th, there's a good chance you're going to get him locked up before he can get to another school.
All right, there you have it. National recruiting analyst Brian Doan sharing the latest on Rutgers recruiting.